The poor but pure campus belle I'd been sponsoring got into a car accident and supposedly lost her memory. I didn't think much of it, just bought a fruit basket and got ready to visit her at the hospital. But before I could even get there, a stream of floating comments appeared in front of my eyes, like some cruel god was narrating my life. The female lead's childhood sweetheart just returned from abroad. She's using this amnesia trick to get rid of the dirty old man. First, she pretends to lose her memory and breaks up with him. Then she gets back together with her first love. The dirty old man will lose his mind, throw money at her like crazy, and beg her to remember him again. Then another one popped up. Do you guys think the male supporting character will find out she's faking her amnesia? No way, someone replied. Her flirty best friend is helping her, there's no chance he'll find out. And that's when it hit me. The dirty old man they were talking about was me. I wasn't even 30 yet, but what those damn bullet comments didn't know was this. I was already sick of that poor campus belle type. I'd been looking for an excuse to dump her. Now she'd handed me the perfect one herself. So I turned around and texted her so-called pretentious coquette best friend. $500,000 per month. Be my girlfriend. Deal or not? She replied instantly. Darling, 100,000 is enough. $500,000's too much. I wouldn't feel comfortable taking that. That night, her best friend and I were tangled up until midnight. Then suddenly a sharp scream pierced through the air outside my door. Darling! My memory's back. If you just look back at me once, I'd give you my life. Her best friend rolled her eyes, muttering under her breath. Life? Useless things like that aren't worth a dime. In the 3rd year of keeping Maria as my mistress, I started getting tired of her. The innocent face I'd fallen for had grown worldly. Her once cold temperament was no longer hard to tame. Over time, the noble moon I'd admired had turned into something soft, clingy, a rice clinger. In this world, all love stories end the same way. Expressionless, I rubbed my temples and picked up my phone. She'd been with me for years. Even if I was ready to end it, I wasn't going to leave her with nothing. I'd make sure she was financially secure before walking away. Just as I found her contact, my phone rang first. Hello, are you George? It was Maria, or rather my rice clinger, speaking with a politeness I'd never heard before. Maria, what's wrong? What happened? She cut me off impatiently. I got into a car accident. Head trauma. I've lost my memory. My mind's back to 3 years ago, and the only person I remember is Makoto. As for you, I've deleted your number. Before I could even respond, she hung up and blocked me. I stood there stunned for a full minute until a text alert buzzed. A spending notification from her secondary card, a private hospital. The amount wasn't much, not nearly enough for a real emergency deposit, so my amnesiac rice clinger had deleted her sugar daddy, but hadn't forgotten how to spend his money. I couldn't decide if I wanted to laugh or curse. I bought a 250 yuan fruit basket and drove to the hospital using her transaction record, but the moment I got out of the car, the sky filled with more floating comments. The amnesia arc begins. The female lead is clever. Her true love just came back. So she used a minor fender bender as the perfect excuse to fake amnesia. Another one popped up. The male side character thinks money makes him special. He believes paying for women gives him control. When he realizes she's forgotten him, he'll regret it deeply. He'll simp after her for a whole year, burn half his fortune, and she still won't even look at him. She'll string him along like a dog. And one more. Ugh, the male supporting role is disgusting. I just want to watch the sweet romance between the leads. Someone make this greasy old man log off already. The 250 yuan fruit basket hit the ground. Apparently, I'd bought it too early because from the looks of it, I was the male supporting role in this world. My entire existence was meant to serve as a simp, a man who'd hear that the heroine lost her memory and, out of heartbreak, spend his entire fortune trying to make her remember him. He'd burn through his money, only to turn her into an independent, career-driven woman. Meanwhile, he'd die miserable and broke in some shabby apartment, a tragic lesson about the downfall of arrogance and greed. In short, I was the stereotypical domineering CEO chasing his ex-wife in a strong female lead novel. Throwing money like confetti, begging for forgiveness even after going bankrupt. And the heroine? She'd smile sweetly and say, "Who says independent women can't use men to gain resources? But I'm not stupid. Why would I throw away my fortune for a woman who thinks she's smarter than me? If I'm spending money, I expect to be treated like a boss, not a servant. Maria was just a canary in a golden cage. Why should I pay her bills and give her emotional comfort? I marched toward the hospital with long strides. A young nurse, clearly familiar with this routine, led me straight to her ward. Through the glass panel on the door, I could see Maria's smug face as she spoke. My childhood sweetheart came back from abroad. That's why I used this amnesia trick, to completely get rid of George. Willow, you have to help me keep it a secret. My gaze shifted to Willow, her best friend. I remembered Maria mentioning her a few times before. I'd even added her on WeChat. But we'd never spoken. Compared to Maria's fragile, innocent act, Willow was her polar opposite, seductive, confident, the definition of a grown woman. In the scorching summer heat, she wore a tight, ultra-short pencil skirt that showed off her long, smooth legs gleaming under the light. My heart skipped a beat, and further up, her chest, full and impossibly shapely, crashed right into my thoughts. I fell for her instantly. Such a perfect best friend. And Maria had kept her hidden from me for 3 years. Truly, a rice clinger through and through. Inside, Maria frowned and said impatiently, "Did you hear me?" Willow's sultry voice floated in reply, "Aren't you afraid this might backfire? What if George decides to ignore you forever?" Maria smiled confidently. "You don't understand. That dirty old man loves me to death. The moment he hears I've lost my memory and forgotten him, he'll be heartbroken. He'll do everything he can to please me, cling to me desperately, never letting go. How could he possibly ignore me?" "But it's such a pity," Maria said, pouting slightly. "I just can't stand his toxic masculinity. He's full of that dad energy. Makoto is so much better. He gives me all his savings willingly and never tries to control me. That's what a real man should be like." Honestly, her confidence didn't surprise me. 3 years ago, I'd met Maria when I gave a speech at my alma mater. She'd been standing under a tree, sunlight filtering through the leaves, her face glowing like a painting. I lost my mind the moment I saw her. I stopped her right there and asked, "Would you like to be my girlfriend?" She knew exactly who I was, the only heir to the Wang Group worth billions. Her eyes lit up instantly. "Of course I would," she'd said eagerly. "I've stayed single all this time just waiting for you, darling." Her sweet lips practically dripped with honey. Back then, she never once mentioned any so-called childhood sweetheart. During those 3 years together, I spoiled her beyond reason. No matter how expensive something was, if she looked at it twice, I'd buy it. I treated her the way an ancient noble might treat his favorite courtesan, lavishing wealth just to see her smile. What drew me in was her proud, hard-to-get attitude. But even the finest feast grows dull after too long. Inside the hospital ward, Maria frowned and lifted her head impatiently. "Willow," she said, "George will definitely come looking for you once he hears I've lost my memory. He'll beg you to help me recover it. Make sure you don't slip up." And just as she predicted, already hopelessly infatuated, I pulled out my phone and sent a message to Willow. "I've fallen for you. $500,000 a month. Be my girlfriend. Deal or not?" The bullet comments across the sky grew faster, flashing one after another. What is the male supporting role doing? How could Willow ever fall for him? Playing hard to get, so cliché. I can't wait anymore. I want to see the male lead return and reunite with the heroine. Just wait a bit longer, the male lead comes back tonight. Inside that small hospital room, a chime sounded from a phone. Willow glanced down, her eyes widening slightly as a faint blush crept across her cheeks. Maria smiled triumphantly. "That must be George messaging you," she added smugly. "I've already blocked his number. He wouldn't dare contact me on WeChat. He's too afraid of upsetting me. So he'll only reach out to you. Tell me, what did he say?" "He must be worried about my injury, right? Asking how I'm doing?" Willow quickly locked her screen, hiding the phone behind her back. She managed a small, muffled sound of agreement. Satisfied, Maria smiled even wider. "All right, then. I have to go pick up Makoto from the airport. If I leave any later, I'll be late." I quietly turned and walked out of the hospital. Just as I stepped out of the outpatient building, my phone buzzed. It was a WeChat message from Willow. "Darling, 100,000 is enough. $500,000's too much. I wouldn't feel comfortable taking that." Compared to Maria, Willow clearly had more sense for this kind of arrangement. I hurried back to the villa, calling out to Aunt Wu as soon as I entered. Pointing upstairs to the south-facing bedroom, I said, "Clear out everything inside and throw it all away." Aunt Wu looked at me in disbelief. "Mr. Wang, that's Miss Maria's room. Do you really want to throw everything away?" Maria had lived here for 3 years. I'd treated her like royalty. She never lifted a finger. Even Aunt Wu, who'd watched me grow up, had treated her with the utmost care. But now that Maria had lost her memory, she'd surely forgotten her way back to this house. Out with the old, in with the new. It was time for someone else to move in. "She won't be coming back," I said firmly. "Throw it all out. Over the past 3 years, I'd bought Maria far too many things." Her so-called amnesia was nothing but a whim, an impulsive trick after a minor car accident. She hadn't even had time to clear her belongings. The servants worked late into the night, clearing everything until the room was completely empty. Not a single item, valuable or not, was spared. Soon, the tone of the bullet comments began to shift. "Aunt Wu, stop. That's a brand new designer dress. Drop me the address, I'll pick it up. And those limited edition earrings. The skincare. Oh my God, I'm coming too. Young Master Wang, I get it now. I can handle this kind of deal. Please give me a chance." Can't deny it. The male supporting role is loaded. Then one skeptical comment appeared. "Weren't you all rooting for the sweet love between the leads? How did you all get blinded by the money?" That one was quickly drowned out by the flood of others. 8 hours had passed since Maria's amnesia. I'd wiped her from my life completely. Every item, every trace. Now my world felt strangely empty. All I really lacked was someone new to keep me company. Just as I was about to message Willow, she sent me a video first. In the dim light of a bar's private booth, Maria was curled in the arms of a young man. Her face was soft, her eyes full of affection as she said sweetly, "Makoto, if George hadn't come between us back then, we would have been together long ago." In Maria's version of the story, I was the villain, the despicable, dirty old man who had set his sights on a pure, innocent college girl and used money to tear apart 2 lovers. According to her, when she refused me, I'd threatened to have her childhood sweetheart expelled from school. So, for his sake, Maria had no choice but to accept me in humiliation. But I remember that moment 3 years ago under the dappled sunlight clearly. When I confessed, her eyes sparkled with excitement, not fear. If she had said she liked someone else, I never would have wasted a second on her. Girls like her, pretty and poor, line up hoping to catch my attention. Whether for my wealth or my status, they always swear that what they love is me, not what I have. Love means nothing to me. What matters is what I gain from it. I glanced at the bottles of liquor on the table in that video, a bottle of Hennessy, worth tens of thousands. Back when Maria was with me, that kind of drink was an everyday indulgence. I could open as many bottles as I wanted without a second thought. But now my amnesiac little canary had drawn a clean line between herself and her benefactor. She didn't have much money of her own. I'd bought her things generously, yes, but I rarely gave her cash directly. Keeping her dependent was the best way to keep her obedient. The only funds she could still touch were from her secondary card, and whatever savings that fool you Makoto had given her. Seeing that expensive bar booth, I didn't hesitate. I canceled her secondary card immediately. Then I texted Willow, "Go home early and rest. I want to see you tomorrow." Maria's eyes were hazy from the alcohol. For the first time in 3 years, she finally felt free. No more cautious smiles, no more forced sweetness. She was human too. She had pride, and her pride ran deep. A woman's pride is higher than the sky. How could she ever let a man suppress her? George, she thought, would never know how to truly please a woman. Makoto, though, he knew exactly how to make her happy. A few more drinks, and the night ripened into that silent, wordless understanding, dry wood ready for a spark. Willow had already left after glancing at her WeChat, her expression unreadable. Now, in that dimly lit private booth, only Maria and Makoto remained. Maria rested her head on his shoulder and whispered softly, "Tomorrow, let's go shopping for some luxury goods. I'll buy you a high-end watch, something that really fits your image." Makoto's eyes lit up instantly. Really, Maria? You don't have to spend that much on me, Maria smiled faintly. Oh, it's nothing. My room's already overflowing with designer stuff. Honestly, I'd love to just throw everything out and start fresh. Bullet comments flew across the scene. Girl, your room's already been cleared out. Only the walls are left. Ugh, why isn't the male supporting role sticking to the script? My heart hurts. I want to go dig through the stuff Aunt Wu threw away. Maria raised her hand and called for the waiter. She handed him her secondary card to pay. Moments later, the waiter's face grew awkward. Miss, this card's been locked. Maybe try your primary card or another one. Maria's call came out of nowhere. I was in the middle of a video chat with Willow, trying to figure out her exact cup size, when my mood was suddenly ruined by the ringtone. Annoyed, I answered, George, why did you lock the secondary card? Maria's angry voice blasted through the speaker. I leaned back lazily, glancing at the screen. So my little canary finally decided to unblock me. I locked my own card. What does that have to do with you? I asked, puzzled. Her voice snapped back. If you lock the card, how am I supposed to use it? And since when, I replied calmly, do you have the right to use my card? What exactly is our relationship again? That one sentence was enough to shut her up. She went silent. If she admitted she was my girlfriend, her whole Amnesia act would fall apart. But if she didn't, she couldn't pay her bill. Either way, she was trapped. After a few seconds of stammering, Maria huffed. Fine, I was going to get my memory back eventually. But now it seems there's no need to rush. Humph. She hung up first. Bullet comments popped up across the air. Exactly. Don't rush to recover your memory. Let the male supporting role panic a bit. Relax. Once he sees the female lead in another man's arms, he'll lose it. Ugh, I still feel bad. All that good stuff just tossed in the trash. Don't worry. Once the male supporting role can't stand it anymore, he'll start showering her with gifts again. I stared at the flood of comments, confused. They kept adding drama for her sake, but honestly, when did I ever say I cared whether she remembered me or not? When I used to date Maria, we'd always go to fancy restaurants, bars, or hotels. But this time, with Willow, I wanted something different. We went hiking, dressed in sportswear. A heavy backpack slung over my shoulder, I looked up at the towering peak ahead, excitement rushing through me. Darling, why'd you bring so much stuff? Willow asked, puzzled. Won't it be too tiring? They're all essentials, I said, waving my hand meaningfully. She nodded, though she clearly didn't get it, then added softly, Let me carry it for you, darling. Amused, I chuckled. Won't you get tired? I won't, she replied with a shy smile. Even if I had to carry you to the top, I wouldn't be tired. I sighed and pinched her cheek. If you can't keep a conversation going, don't force it. She lowered her head. I just didn't want you to stop liking me. After all, you're paying $100,000 a month. I have to make sure you feel it's worth it. To be fair, I had overpacked. By the time we reached halfway, I was panting heavily. Willow sat beside me, handed me water, and gently wiped the sweat from my forehead. Her perfume lingered in the cool air, soft and intoxicating. Compared to Maria, Willow was far more alluring. As night fell, we reached the summit. Let's set up the tent, I said. Willow froze. Darling, are we staying here tonight? I frowned. What, you don't want to? Could it be that this bold little temptress was suddenly shy about spending the night outdoors? I wasn't about to force her, so I pulled out my phone, hit play on a ringtone, and pretended to take a call. What? David got run over by a 100-ton truck? I'll head to the hospital right away. Seeing me about to leave, Willow panicked. No, wait. That's not it. I was just worried you'd think the tent was too shabby, that's all. I'd love to stay here with you, darling. Willow looked nervous. Sweat trickled from her temple down the curve of her neck. I watched, unable to look away. At 24, everything about her was vibrant and full of life, every emotion worn openly on her face. All right, I said. Let's hurry up and set it up. It's getting dark, she hesitated. That friend of yours, David, the one who got run over by a 100-ton truck? I laughed. He'll be fine. Just a few scratches. Some antiseptic and he's good. We started pitching the tent together. Then, out of the corner of my eye, the bullet comment started scrolling again. The male supporting role and the female supporting role are actually kind of cute together. Maybe. But the male lead and female lead's chemistry is still the best. Their love's been so bumpy, it's finally working out. Look, the heroine said she's taking the male lead to her villa. Wait, isn't that the male supporting role's villa? She's lived there so long, might as well call it hers. Of course, there was a problem. I, the actual owner of that villa, didn't agree. I immediately called Aunt Wu. Delete Maria's fingerprints from the system. Tell everyone to take the night off and lock the place down. When the red Ferrari pulled up to the villa, Maria still wore that bright, confident smile. The place was gorgeous, lavishly decorated. Spending one night here with her new love would surely make George regret everything. The car stopped outside in the dark. Makoto gawked. Maria, this is your house? Maria tilted her chin proudly. In her mind, she'd already planned it out. If she ran into George, she'd just ignore him, show him how happy she was, and let regret eat him alive until he threw money at her just to win her back. Makoto gazed at her, impressed. I've only been abroad 3 years, and you've already achieved so much. Women these days? Truly amazing. Compared to them, us men don't even come close, Maria chuckled. You've just been away too long. Men like you are a rare find now. She reached out to unlock the door with her fingerprint, but Aunt Wu suddenly appeared by the gate, face cold and expression stiff, holding a set of car keys. This car belongs to our young master Wang, she said flatly. We've taken it back. Take a taxi home. She opened the Ferrari's door, stepped in, and sped off into the night. Makoto blinked in shock. Maria, someone just took your car. How did they even have your keys? Maria's face turned bright red. That was my housekeeper. She's been acting strange lately. Don't mind her. I'll fire her tomorrow. Let's just go home. She pressed her finger to the scanner again. A cold, mechanical voice cut through the silence. Fingerprint error. Just as Willow and I finished setting up the tent, my phone rang again. Perfect timing as always. It was Maria. In just one day, she'd unblocked me twice already. I was like some slippery raccoon, always sneaking back into her mind no matter how hard she tried to block me out. I was holding Willow, enjoying the mountain night view, so I ignored it. But she kept calling again and again. By the 7th call, I gave in and picked up. George, why did you delete my fingerprint? She screamed. Sorry, I said evenly. Who is this? Silence. Then came her teeth-gritting reply, It's Maria. So what? I said coolly. And remind me, what's our relationship again? Why would your fingerprint be registered in my villa? I threw the question right back at her. Maria stayed quiet, still clinging to her little amnesia act. You could practically hear her anger bubbling through the phone. She finally spat out, Fine! We have nothing to do with each other. But mark my words, when we meet again someday, you'll regret what you did today. She hung up furiously. I couldn't help but laugh. After 3 years of seeing that same face every day, I'd had more than enough. What made her think that just running into her again would make me fall in love all over? Bullet comments rolled across the sky, scolding me for being two-faced. Stop pretending, male supporting role. Go comfort the heroine already. Maybe then she'll realize how good you are and take you back. Just wait. Once you see the male and female lead's sweet love, you'll regret everything. Don't be fooled. He's only chasing the heroine's best friend because he hasn't seen how affectionate she can be with another man. Exactly. The heroine's way prettier than her best friend anyway. But the comments didn't get it. Sure, Maria was a little prettier than Willow. But after 3 years together, even the most beautiful face gets old, especially one paired with a bad temper and zero personality. My tastes had changed. I wasn't into the fragile, innocent White Lotus type anymore. I only liked fiery little wildcats now. I lifted Willow's chin with a smile. Tonight, I said, I expect you to perform well. Willow froze, her eyes flickering with hesitation, then turned her head slightly away. I frowned. Rejection? I've never liked forcing anyone, so I took out my phone, played my fake ringtone, and, without even pretending to set an alarm this time, answered an imaginary call. David? What's wrong? What? You just escaped from under a 100-ton truck only to get hit by a semi and thrown 300 meters? Stay put. I'm calling an ambulance right now. Willow panicked and interrupted quickly. Darling, wait! I didn't mean no just now. I just meant... She looked embarrassed. The tent's too small. I was worried you wouldn't have enough room to move around. Don't you prefer the comfort of a 5-star hotel bed, darling? Willow was completely flustered. She even grabbed my hand and pressed it against her chest. Instantly, my blood surged. What's so great about a bed? I said, voice low. People spend half their lives lying on one. Missing a few nights won't kill anyone. Out here, there's the rawness of instinct and the romance of nature. Only then did Willow relax. After a moment, she asked hesitantly, "That's good. By the way, what about that poor guy? The one who got flung by the semi, David?" I waved it off. "A scratch like that? He'll be fine. He can walk himself to the hospital. At worst, take 2 boxes of antibiotics." The guy's dramatic, always exaggerating. The night breeze was soft. The world quieted until there was only breath, heartbeat, and heat between us. Then, in the middle of it, Willow's phone rang. I gestured for her to answer. Her voice was breathy, low, every syllable soaked in warmth. On the other end, Maria could hear every sound. Maria chuckled softly. "Sorry, Willow. Am I interrupting something?" Willow bit her lip, face flushed. "If you know you're interrupting, then hang up." Maria paused for a second, then kept her tone light and casual. "I'll make this quick. Tell George I'll be going to the luxury store tomorrow, with Makoto. Make sure he finds out where I'll be. I want to see if he can still act calm after seeing me all lovey-dovey with another man." When the call ended, Willow turned to me, looking pitiful. Her arms slid around my neck as she whispered, "Darling, are you really not worried?" I wrapped an arm around her waist and replied slowly, clearly, "How could I be? I already have you." Then I smiled faintly. "I'm just curious. Where did she get the money to shop at a luxury store? Back in the day, I used to take Maria shopping for luxury goods all the time. Necklaces, handbags, anything that caught her eye. Because of that, the sales associates always made sure to call me first when new collections arrived. Early this morning, one of them called excitedly to say the new line had just been released. Considering Willow's outstanding performance last night, I figured she deserved a little reward, so I took the cable car down the mountain, called David to come along, and headed straight to the store to pick something out. Bullet comments immediately started flying. Knew it. The male supporting role came to the luxury store to wait for the heroine. He can't stay calm at all. He's so two-faced. Watch, he'll start buying her stuff any second now just to get her attention. Look, they're here. The heroine and her childhood sweetheart just walked in. I turned slightly, and there she was, Maria, walking in arm with Makoto, all smiles and confidence. According to last night's Bullet comments, they hadn't been able to stay in the villa. When Makoto asked why, Maria had quickly come up with an excuse. "The gate's broken," she'd said. "I'll get someone to fix it later." And gullible Makoto had believed her without question. Back in college, they'd liked each other. When I asked Maria out 3 years ago, she said yes right away, throwing away love for money. Makoto, disillusioned, went abroad for his studies. He was gone for 3 years, but when he came back, the faint memory of her had turned into a deep scar, one she now claimed she'd abandon everything to heal with him. The store wasn't large. Maria spotted me almost instantly, her lips curved into a confident smirk. She let out a cold snort, gave me a once-over, and said arrogantly, "George, I've completely forgotten who you are. No matter how hard you chase me, I won't even spare you another glance." Makoto looked me up and down, then wrapped an arm around Maria's waist with a smug grin. "George, right? I heard you were Maria's ex-boyfriend," he said. "But too bad. She had that car accident, lost her memory, and forgot all about you. Now she only remembers me. No matter how unwilling you are, there's nothing you can do." They were both unbearably noisy. I ignored them and pointed to a few necklaces I'd chosen for Willow and a wristwatch worth over $1 million. "Wrap these up?" I said calmly. Maria let out a sharp laugh. "George, I've already forgotten you. Why are you still clinging to me like gum you can't peel off? Do you really think buying me a few necklaces will win me back? I only have Makoto in my heart now. No matter what you do, I won't even look your way." But Makoto's eyes were glued to the price tag on the watch I was holding. Maria noticed and snorted, "George, you really are selfish. A decent man would always give the best things to his woman, afraid she might suffer even a little. But you buy yourself $1 million watch and try to brush me off with a few cheap necklaces worth tens of thousands." My expression darkened. She rolled her eyes and added, "How about this? If you give that watch to Makoto, maybe I'll consider taking your number off my block list. But don't get any ideas. The only man I'll ever love is Makoto." That arrogance of hers, that was something I had created. I liked watching someone act proud, precisely because I knew I could crush that pride anytime I wanted. That feeling, the power to control everything in the palm of my hand, was what I'd once enjoyed most. Maria didn't have much of her own money. The only reason she dared to stand in front of me like this was because she believed I still cared. That jealousy would drive me to pay for her and her dear childhood. Sweetheart, I spread my hands and asked what had been on my mind the whole time. "Maria, when exactly did I ever say I cared about your memory loss? Can your memory make my company's stock price rise? Can it solve any of my business problems?" Maria froze, her brows knitting in confusion. "But that's 3 years of everything we shared," she murmured. I shrugged. 3 years of eating, drinking, and having fun. So what if it's gone? What's there to miss? I leaned closer, voice steady. "Do you really think that without you, I can't spend another 3 years eating, drinking, and having fun with someone else?" David clapped me on the shoulder, laughing. "Exactly. Who needs her? We can still eat, drink, and have fun, with my godfather if it comes to that." Maria's face stiffened. She shook her head, voice trembling but defiant. "No, I don't believe you really don't care about those 3 years. You're just pretending, aren't you? Pretending to be indifferent so I'll stay in your life." That day, both of their wishes fell flat. There were no luxury necklaces worth tens of thousands, and definitely no $1,000,000 watch. After David and I left, Maria tried to keep her word and buy Makoto that same watch she'd bragged about. But the sales associate stopped her cold. "I'm sorry, ma'am," the woman said smoothly, though her tone was edged with disdain. "That watch isn't available for sale. The only one left is the display model. You might want to take a look at something else, perhaps a fly swatter, a globe, or maybe a mahjong table." The meaning couldn't have been clearer. If they wanted that watch, they'd have to make a massive bundle purchase first. When Maria and Makoto heard the total, their faces drained of color. No amount of pretending could hide their empty wallets. Hand in hand, they made a hasty, embarrassed escape from the store. Later that afternoon, Maria updated her WeChat moments. Even though she had my number blocked, she deliberately kept me unblocked on WeChat for moments exactly like this. Her post read, "After all the twists and turns, my world still revolves around you." Attached was a selfie of her and Makoto at a revolving restaurant on the top floor of a shopping mall, both smiling sweetly at the camera, faces pressed close. In that photo, Makoto's smile looked forced. Back in college, his family background had been just like Maria's, ordinary, nothing remarkable. Studying abroad had wiped out his family's savings, and he'd only come home after spotting Maria's face in a society column from a high-end charity gala. He thought he'd found his golden ticket. So he threw himself at her feet, flattering her, fawning on her, even handing over his last savings to prove his devotion. He dreamed that through her, he might finally climb into high society. Maria played her part well, convincing Makoto she'd become a true socialite. But after he returned, he soon realized it was all smoke and mirrors. He'd gained nothing. In fact, she'd nearly drained what little he had left. Makoto began to see himself for what he was, a pawn in someone else's game. And it was getting harder and harder for him to keep smiling. Then came the bullet comments floating through the sky. What's happening? In the original story, weren't the male and female leads supposed to be lovey-dovey right now? Of course they're not. In the original version, the male supporting role was a total simp, throwing money and gifts at the heroine, begging her to come back. But now, he stopped simping. So what's left? 2 broke college grads with no money for romance. Just wait. Once the heroine keeps posting every day, the male supporting role will get jealous. He'll start chasing her again, begging her to remember him. Forget that. I'm shipping the male supporting role with the best friend. The CEO and his fiery little wildcat, that's the real power couple. I read through all the comments one by one, then glanced down at the plane tickets I'd just bought. Willow was so considerate it almost hurt. She always insisted that money didn't grow on trees. Since we'd agreed on $100,000 a month, she refused to take even a cent more. She'd even offered to deduct part of her own travel expenses from her pay to make it up to her. I decided to take her on a whirlwind overseas trip, a speed tour vacation. Just as the comments faded away, Maria updated her WeChat again. Clearly, she was determined to flaunt her new romance. This time, her post showed 2 tickets to an electronic theme park. "It's never been about the money, it's about attitude," she'd written. Time may pass, but he never forgets his promise to take me to the amusement park. Right then, Willow slipped her arms around mine, swaying playfully. "Darling," she teased, "you still haven't posted me on your moments yet." Her voice was so soft it made my head spin. I smiled, snapped a photo of our intertwined fingers, uploaded it, and captioned it simply, "Maldives. Here we come." Our plane touched down smoothly at Valana International Airport. I looked over at Willow, satisfaction tugging at my lips. She really was my little wildcat, so full of life. Even after hours of flying, she was bouncing around, wide-eyed and excited. After checking into the hotel, she finally pulled out her phone. Dozens of missed calls. A flood of unread WeChat messages. The earliest ones from Maria still sounded calm. "Sis, did you see George's WeChat post? He's trying to make me jealous. Took some random girl to the Maldives just to show off. As if I'd fall for that. Why aren't you replying? I've been calling nonstop. Where are you right now? Has George contacted you about me?" Before she could scroll further, Maria's call came through again. Willow answered lazily, "Hey Maria, what's up?" Maria's voice trembled with impatience. "Has George contacted you recently?" Willow glanced at me, then replied honestly, "He contacts me every day." And that was true. I had been contacting her constantly. Maria exhaled, her tone softening, even turning smug. "I knew it. George still has me in his heart. He's just pretending to be cold so I'll crawl back to him first. But please, how could a woman with amnesia lower herself like that? Unless he apologizes sincerely and changes that arrogant attitude, he's not worth my time." I couldn't help but laugh quietly. Maria must have heard it, because she immediately snapped, "Wait, I heard a man's voice." "Who's with you? Is it that guy again?" Willow huffed. "Yeah, it's him." Maria sighed, her voice dripping with envy. "You two sound so romantic, always together." "Where are you lovebirds now?" Willow replied simply, "Maldives." There was a brief silence. Then Maria's tone brightened instantly. "What a coincidence. George said he's in the Maldives too. Keep an eye out for me, will you? See if he's with another woman." Willow and I spent our days wandering across the Maldives' white sand beaches. As the sun sank low, I held her hand, our bare feet sinking into the soft, warm sand. She glanced toward a group of divers not far away. "Darling," she said curiously, "do you want to go diving later?" It was obvious she was the one who wanted to go, but Willow knew her place well. Even when I indulged her, she never forgot her role. When she saw something she liked, her face would flush pink, and she'd ask timidly, almost teasingly, if I liked it too. If I said yes, she'd beam with pure joy. If I said no, she'd quickly look away. Unlike Maria, she never ordered, never demanded. I followed her gaze toward the turquoise ocean. "All right," I said. "Let's give it a try." Her eyes lit up immediately. After putting on her diving gear, she grabbed my hand, and together we slipped beneath the surface. Schools of damselfish darted around us, glittering under shafts of filtered sunlight. And then, believe it or not, the bullet comments appeared again, floating through the water like glowing jellyfish, finally. Thanks to the male supporting role, we get to see what the Maldives actually looks like. Why isn't anyone watching the male and female leads anymore? What's there to watch? They argue 3 times a day. Last time, the male lead demanded his savings back and the heroine slapped him, called him a freeloader. See? Without the male supporting role's money, there's no sweet love story left. I still can't stop thinking about those luxury dresses Aunt Wu threw away. Girl, let it go. Aunt Wu trashed 19 haute couture gowns, 12 pairs of designer heels, 6 diamond necklaces. Exactly 17 days and 15 hours ago, someone joked in the bullet comments. I barely even remember them now. Then came another line. Shh. Look, the male and female leads are fighting again. Maria was furious. She couldn't understand how it had come to this. Before they'd gotten together, Makoto had been her white moonlight, the man she'd dreamed of through every sleepless night. But after barely half a month of dating, her so-called white moonlight had turned into a clingy, broke headache, and all because she'd let him buy her a simple bracelet. Now he wanted his savings back. Makoto rubbed his temples, exhausted. He didn't understand either. Why did dating Maria have to be so expensive? Why was she so obsessed with luxury brands? His last few $1,000s had gone into that bracelet, a useless piece of metal that couldn't be eaten, couldn't be used, and lost value the second he walked out of the store. Now he didn't even have enough to pay for dinner. They sat facing each other in a high-end French restaurant. After a long silence, Makoto finally mustered the courage to ask, "Maria, could you pay for this one?" Maria's eyes flared with disbelief. "Why should I pay? What kind of man makes a woman pick up the check?" Makoto's patience snapped. "When have you ever paid for anything? Why can't you cover one meal for once?" His raised voice drew stares from the other diners. Maria's face flushed crimson under their gaze. "So that's how it is, huh?" Makoto gritted his teeth. "You finally said what you really think. You pretend to offer, then claim your card doesn't work just to make me pay. Are you one of those bar hustlers, pretending to be classy so some fool will wine and dine you?" He gave a bitter laugh. "You can't even afford your own life, can you? Maybe you should start selling yourself if you're that desperate." Laughter rippled through the restaurant. Makoto threw his utensils down and stormed out without looking back. Maria sat frozen, her hands shaking, tears stinging her eyes. Regret hit her hard. She shouldn't have thrown away a comfortable life for a fantasy. In the over-air-conditioned restaurant, her fingers felt numb as she pulled out her phone. She opened Willow's chat, typed, deleted, typed again, and finally sent. "Sis, did you run into George in the Maldives? Is there another woman with him?" Half a day later, Willow's reply came, "There's no woman beside George except me." Maria's heart eased instantly. Of course, George still liked her. He must have gone to the Maldives just to find Willow, to ask for her help restoring Maria's memory. The moment Willow and I stepped off the plane, the bullet comments came flooding in. What happened? Why did the male and female leads break up? We didn't even get a minute of sweet romance. The heroine regrets it now. She's going to find the male supporting role and tell him she's regained her memory. I officially declare the heroine a side character. George and Willow are the real leads. Thanks to them, I feel like I've been to the Maldives myself, 10-10, no notes. Look, Maria's waiting outside the villa for him. Outside, the rain came down in torrents. Thunder split the sky as I drove Willow toward my villa. Even from a distance, I could see a figure crouched beneath the eaves by the gate, just as the comments said. According to them, Maria had been waiting outside every day since breaking up with Makoto. This was her 13th straight day. When my car's headlights swept over her, her eyes lit up with a mix of shock and anticipation. I stepped out, umbrella in hand, frowning. Her voice trembled with excitement, though she tried to steady it. "George, I have good news," she said. "I've regained my memory." Her words hit me like bad news. A dull ache pulsed behind my eyes. Who cared whether she'd lost or regained her memory? Since the day she forgot me, I'd never once wished she'd remember. But Maria couldn't let it go. She was convinced I was still longing for those 3 years we'd spent together. I met her gaze, voice flat. "What does your memory loss have to do with me? Why do you keep chasing me just to tell me that?" Lightning flashed, lighting up her pale, shocked face. "No, George, you still like me, I know you do," she insisted desperately. "Now that I remember everything, let's go back to how we were. Let me be your girlfriend again, all right?" I stared at her in disbelief. "When were you ever my girlfriend?" Her eyes widened. "What?" "George, we were together for 3 years. Didn't your phone have me saved as girlfriend?" I pulled out my phone, held the screen up to her, and said coldly, "Take a closer look. It says Rice Klinger." Her face drained of all color. Her lips trembled, forcing a brittle smile. "You're angry because I forgot you," she said weakly. "But changing my name doesn't hide the fact that you still love me. And besides, you don't have anyone else. Isn't that proof enough?" Before she could finish, Willow stepped gracefully out of the passenger seat. Maria rushed toward her. "Willow, please, help me talk to George," she begged. "He's just being stubborn. He still loves me. He's been in the Maldives all this time and there wasn't a single woman with him." Her voice faltered as Willow slipped her arm through mine and smiled up at me. "Darling," she said warmly. You must be tired. Let's go inside and rest. Maria stumbled back, nearly losing her balance. A flash of lightning lit up her stricken face. Her voice cracked. You two, what's your relationship? Willow's smile bloomed like a flower. I already told you, she said sweetly. In the Maldives, there was no woman beside George except me. Maria's expression twisted, shifting between shock, anger, and heartbreak until everything exploded into a wild, trembling scream. Willow, I treated you like my best friend, and you stole my man while I was suffering from amnesia. She lunged forward, hand raised to slap Willow. Typical rice clinger, always dramatic, always unreasonable. But Willow caught her wrist effortlessly, her tone cool and mocking. Steal your man? Don't make me laugh, she said. You're with Makoto now. That means George is single. Why shouldn't I be with him? And besides, her gaze sharpened. Were you ever really amnesiac? Maria's eyes darted away, unable to meet mine. I just... Her words tangled on her tongue. She couldn't even finish a sentence. I'd never cared whether Maria's memory was gone or not. Fresh off the plane, exhaustion was already setting in. I waved a hand lazily. Enough. I don't care if you've lost your memory or not, I said flatly. I just got back from a long flight. I'm tired, I'm going to rest. Oh, and Willow, let's plan a trip to Hawaii sometime. Willow's eyes lit up instantly. She nodded, a smile tugging at her lips. Behind her, Maria stood drenched, trembling as the truth sank in. Her best friend had replaced her. The rain poured harder, drumming against the ground. Her voice cracked as she spoke, almost pleading. George, we were together for 3 years. Why did you never take me on trips?
Why was it always just hotels?
I pressed a finger to my lips. Shh, I said softly. Your worth was in the hotels. The poetry, the faraway places, those I've reserved for someone else. The villa doors closed with a dull thud, sealing Maria's voice outside. Through the curtain of rain, her cries still carried faintly. George, I was wrong! Please, just look back at me once. I'll give you my life if that's what it takes. Her voice was raw, maybe even sincere. I knew she understood money, too well in fact. But in her fantasy, this whole amnesia act was supposed to win her both love and wealth, too greedy. And in the end, she got neither. Willow wrinkled her nose, scoffing. Offering useless things again, she said, as if her life were some kind of luxury item. I couldn't help laughing. Willow, starting tomorrow, move in with me. She froze, hesitation flickering across her face. My brows furrowed. Was she actually refusing? I'd never forced anyone before, and I wasn't about to start now. I simply lifted my phone to my ear and sighed. Hello, David. What's up this late? What? You fell into the ocean and found Nemo beside you? Don't worry, I'll head out right now to... Before I could finish, Willow cut in smoothly, already playing along. Darling, she said sweetly, I was just worried I'd disturb your peace if I moved in. I'll go pack my things right now. Her nose was barely an inch from mine, her warm breath brushing my cheek, soft, teasing. I tossed my phone aside and looked at her. Not being forced, right? She smiled. Not at all. All right then, I said. It's late. Move in tomorrow. Let's get some rest tonight. Okay, she murmured, then paused, her eyes glinting with mischief. But that David, who's still floating out there somewhere in the open sea. I waved a hand dismissively. Not a big deal. He can swim 3,000 miles and wash up on the Australian coast. It's barely a thumb's distance on the map, yet he has to call me about it. Willow pouted softly, leaning closer until her voice was a whisper. Darling, from now on, whatever you say, I'll agree right away. Just please don't bring up David again, I smirked. You don't get it. That's just how we are. As if on cue, my phone rang again, this time David's girlfriend. Her anxious voice came through the speaker. George! David said you've got a 45-degree fever, and he went to the hospital to check on you, so he can't come pick me up. Is that true? Instantly, I switched to my best dying patient voice. Yes. 45 degrees. The thermometer's already exploded 3 times. David went downstairs to get me some late-night food. Don't worry, he'll call you once he's back. And yes, he still loves you. Outside, the rain drummed steadily against the window. In the distance, the floating bullet comments faded like mist in the night. Another male lead has broken free from his scripted fate, no longer a simp, no longer a stepping stone. Same pattern as always. In the next book, the audience should scold him harder at the start, make him hit rock bottom faster so he can wake up sooner. This small world's stable now, brothers. Let's move on to the next one. I moved into a cramped little attic, freezing in winter, suffocating in summer. Ever since I met George, my life had completely changed. No more rent, no more bills, no more struggling for scraps. Those comfortable days had made me soft, and made me miss Makoto even more. That longing, day after day, year after year, had taken root inside me like a stubborn tree. Its branches spread higher each time I thought of what I'd lost. It was that yearning that gave me the idea to fake my memory loss and win both love and money. But I never imagined George would cast me aside so easily, or turn to Willow without even a backward glance. I didn't understand. I was prettier than Willow, so why had he chosen her? After half a month in that tiny rented room, penniless and hungry, I finally went out to find work. Thanks to my looks, I landed a job as a waitress at an upscale restaurant on the top floor of a luxury building, the kind of place I used to dine in, not serve in. Now I carried trays instead of handbags. In my third month, I saw George again. He was still as confident and composed as ever, refined, magnetic. So different from Makoto, who only knew how to talk big but never deliver. The moon that once fell into dust had become a shackle. A drop of mosquito blood, polished by time, had turned into a pearl. He hadn't changed, and beside him, of course, was Willow. The sight of them together made my chest tighten. I turned away, too ashamed to approach. From the corner of my eye, I watched another waitress bring them the menu. Willow accepted it and began ordering. I sneered quietly. None of those were the dishes George used to order. I refused to believe a woman like her could stay by his side for long. But then I heard George's voice, warm, satisfied. "Willow, how did you know these are my favorites?" She smiled softly. "You mentioned it once, darling." "I just remembered," George chuckled. "I'm so much happier with you. Not like some people before, always ordering what they wanted, never remembering what I liked." My heart jolted. Only then did I realize, when I'd been with George, every meal we shared had been my choice. Never his. I couldn't bring myself to approach them through the whole meal. Only when they were about to leave did I finally gather every shred of courage I had left and called out softly, "George." He turned around. I met his eyes, my heart trembling with fragile hope. I wanted him to say he still thought of me, that he still loved me, even a little. But George only smiled faintly, his tone calm and distant. "Who are you?" I froze. He tilted his head slightly. "I just lost my memory a few days ago," he said. "As for people who didn't matter in the past, I've already chosen to forget them first."